Alien is one of my all-time favorite science fiction franchises. The movies definitely aren't perfect, but they are guilty pleasures that I don't mind rewatching from time to time. I'm not super invested in all aspects of the franchise though. I haven't read the books or comics. I enjoy the movies, but I don't know all there is to know about the Alien universe. When I heard that Free League Publishing had released a tabletop role-playing game set in the Alien universe, I knew that I had to take a closer look. I set out wanting to learn two things from this game: if it could emulate the intensity of an Alien film, and if it could present a setting compelling enough to merit entire campaigns of play. The answer is yes. Yes, it can.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
The Alien role-playing game captures the aesthetic of the movies in a way that presents space as vast, dark and dangerous. It also introduces an expanded setting that can be used for endless stories even without any xenomorphs present. The book is clear that even though the horrifying alien creatures are an important part of the setting in this game, the universe is about more than otherworldly beasts. It's about humbling man for his own hubris. It's about motherhood and family, about loss and sacrifice. It's about existential questions, corporate greed and avarice, and how firepower and technology aren't enough to protect you from the unknown. While the game can take place in all uncharted space, its primary focus is on the frontier, the fringes of the explored that border to the unknown. Here, life is harsh and cheap. Atmospheric processors are used to convert the air into something possibly breathable. The majority of colonists are prospectors, entrepreneurs, farmers and homesteaders. Neighboring colonies don't always get along, and armed conflicts are common. The frontier is also a place of mystery, as rumors speak of priceless artifacts found in ancient ruins on distant moons. There are also whispers of hostile life forms that can overrun entire worlds. Over the past century, ships, stations and even entire colonies have simply disappeared from the frontier, which only adds to the rumors. While most of charted space is under the control of various factions, the frontier is intersected by several of them. The primary ones are the Three World Empire, which consists of the former UK, Japan and several developing nations. Another faction is the United Americas, which is the merger of North, Central and South America into a single nation. They are a major colonizing and starfaring power that's constantly expanding the frontier. The Union of Progressive Peoples, or UPP for short, is a socialist bloc of systems that control a large but resource-poor sector of space. Unlike the rival factions, UPP is not influenced by corporate concerns and they are to a large degree managed by their workers. Then we have the Independent Core System Colonies, or ICSC for short, which is a loose conglomerate of privately owned worlds where each colony has its own government, though many of them are owned or influenced by corporate interests. While these factions are expansive and powerful, real power lies in the corporations such as Weyland-Yutani, Bionational and Seegson. The game takes place in 2183, which is 3 years since the destruction of Hadley's Hope on LV-426, the disappearance of the USS Sulaco and the closing of the prison and lead works on Fiorina 161. There is also an air of distrust between Weyland-Yutani and the United Americas. One of the convicts on Fiorina 161 wrote a book called Space Beast, which tells of an alien dragon that overran that facility. This book was banned instantly but has still spread across the colonies. While some see it as fiction, others are convinced that it details true events. Conflicts between rival sectors have escalated in recent years, and more colonial marine units than before are deployed to various worlds and sectors, making people on the frontier on edge. All of this is detailed in the book's introduction chapter called Space is Hell. It also introduces a timeline that details all essential information and tie it together with other alien media, such as the movies. All of the movies, with the exception of Alien Resurrection, including Prometheus and Covenant, are canon and made to tie into the overarching story. There are two distinct modes for role-playing Alien. This is cinematic play, which is a short but intense story that emulates the dramatic arc of an Alien film. The second mode is campaign play, which is designed for longer continuous play over several sessions. I'm going to talk more about what distinguishes the two later in the video. The game is played using 6-sided dice of two distinct colors, representing base dice and stress dice. You roll these dice when performing dramatic actions, and the goal is to roll 6 to succeed and to avoid rolling 1 on your stress dice if you have any. The more psychological pressure your character experiences, the more stress dice they have and the greater the risk of rolling 1s. Even though I enjoy the way the book is structured, something I'm not a fan of is that the book depicts 6s and 1s using the symbols on Free League's own Alien RPG dice sets. Since I find dice sets like these to be a gimmick that only a minority of players use, it's a pet peeve of mine to see a game book use these optional product symbols as the standardized symbols in the book's layout, instead of simply writing 6 and 1, which is what the majority of players will be looking for. It's gimmicky and it's to sell dice sets, and I'm not a fan of that choice.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
As mentioned, the game has 2 distinct modes, cinematic play and campaign play, and these are very different experiences. The Corebook has a playable scenario at the end of the book, and there's also an independent supplementary scenario available called Chariot of the Gods, which I have partially GM'd through to what I feel is a good degree of success. These are brief cinematic scenarios where it's almost expected to have PC deaths. Little focus is put on actually creating your own PCs for these scenarios, and instead predetermined characters are available to choose from. For campaign play, you're going to need to create your own PCs though. There are 10 steps to character creation. First, determine your career. There are 9 careers to choose from, each with individual specializations. These are Colonial Marine, Colonial Marshal, Company Agent, Kid, Medic, Officer, Pilot, Roughneck and Scientist. Second, you need to distribute 14 points across 4 attributes ranging from 1 to 5, Strength, Agility, Wits and Empathy. These are used when rolling dice to perform actions in the game, and some of them can also determine other traits. Afterwards, you need to determine your skills, which measure knowledge and abilities acquired during your life. These range from 0 to 5. The 4th step introduces your career talent, which is a trick, move or ability that gives you a specialized edge and that helps you stand out. A character starts with a single talent, but each career presents 3 to choose from. In the next step, you need to choose your name. Each career has 3 male and 3 female names that can act as inspiration for your own. In the following step, you need to describe your character's appearance. Your chosen career gives a few suggestions here as well. In step 7, you need to determine a personal agenda unique to your character and that shapes their personality and intent. In cinematic play, these are typically predetermined by the scenario. The Alien RPG puts a lot of emphasis on character relationships and conflicts, and it employs a system called buddy and rival. This is a narrative system where you can choose a single character to be your buddy and another character to be your rival. This should then inspire your roleplay. After having decided your buddy and rival, you need to determine what your starting gear is. Cinematic scenarios determine what gear you start with, but for campaign play, this is determined by your chosen career instead. You also get a signature item, which is a sentimental item that can help you relieve stress. Finally, you determine your starting funds. The game also has rules for playing an android, which has always been an important part of the Alien franchise. These get bonuses to certain attributes and don't suffer stress or panic. There's an unwritten rule when it comes to roleplay that players should cooperate and not try to kill each other. In the Alien RPG, this rule comes with an asterisk. Because of the isolation and distrust that comes with especially cinematic play, it's not as uncommon that a PC ends up in direct confrontation with another PC. In fact, some cinematic scenarios can encourage these types of conflicts. The GM can call PvP when things escalate beyond the point of no return. If a PC turned traitor and survived the conflict, they are recommended to become NPCs instead, with a new character being given to the player of the traitor. This PvP system is almost exclusively seen in cinematic play, and the book points out that PvP should be less common in campaign play. I personally think that PvP should be highly discouraged in most games because there's a risk that in-game conflicts translate to real-life conflicts. However, because of the nature of cinematic play in this game, it makes sense that such scenarios could have the risk for this kind of situation. I think it's important that the group discusses PvP before they start a cinematic scenario, so that everyone can agree on how far they are willing to go, how gritty they want things to be, and how likely it is that they can lose their characters. As long as everyone consent, this kind of conflict roleplay could be a rewarding experience.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
There are 12 different skills in the Alien RPG, each one associated with a different attribute. For strength, there's heavy machinery, stamina and close combat. For agility, there's mobility, ranged combat and piloting. For wits, there's observation, comtech and survival. And for empathy, there's command, manipulation and medical aid. When about to make a skill check, you make a pool of base dice using your skill value as well as its related attribute. Then you add stress dice on top of that if you have any. You don't need the actual skill to attempt a particular action, then you just use the attribute. If you roll at least 1 6, you're successful. If you roll at least 1 1 on a stress dice, you risk panic. If the GM wants to increase or decrease the action's difficulty, they do so by adding a positive or negative modifier to the roll, but you still usually only need 1 6 to succeed. The only times you need multiple 6s to succeed is when making an opposed roll, then you have to roll more 6s than your opponent. If you didn't get the 6s you wanted and don't roll any 1s, you can choose to push the roll. This lets you re-roll all dice that aren't 6s, but you must increase your stress level by 1. You can only push 1s per dice roll.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
The game uses talents as another way of customization. These are individual traits that change the way a character plays. There are 2 types of talents in the game, career talents and general talents. While career talents can only be learned by characters with a specific career, general talents can be learned by anyone. Each career has 3 talents to choose from. I'll go through one from each to give an idea on how they could look. Colonial Marines have a talent called Banter, which lets you release the tension in your team between fights. Your and other stress levels drop 2 steps instead of 1 for every turn spent in a safe place. Colonial Marshals have a talent called Subdue, which lets them subdue humanoid opponents instead of harming them. Company Agents have a talent called Cunning, which lets them push any skill rolls based on wits twice, not just once. Kids have a talent called Beneath Notice, which lets them re-roll a critical injury on themselves and choose the preferable result. Medics have a talent called Compassion, which lets them push any skill roll based on empathy twice, just like how Company Agents can push cunning rolls twice. Officers have a talent called Field Commander, which lets them use command to give orders in combat as a fast action instead of a slow action. This means that they can give orders twice in the same round. Pilots have a talent called Full Throttle, which gives them bonuses to accelerate or decelerate actions when piloting spacecrafts. Roughnecks have a talent called Resilient, which lets them roll for strength every time they suffer damage for a chance of mitigating some of that damage. Scientists have a talent called Breakthrough, which lets them automatically pass an observation roll of their choice once per session. The general talents are similar in structure but open for anyone to learn. For example, the Bodyguard talent lets you protect a nearby ally that's hit by an attack by giving you a chance of being hit instead. The Healer talent lets you recover more quickly from injuries. The Merciless talent lets you perform a coup de grace without rolling for empathy, and you suffer less stress from taking out enemies.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
An important aspect of the Alien RPG is stealth mode. When aliens and other enemies are sneaking around the ship or colony, the GM is recommended to keep track of their individual movements secretly from the players. When the players are trying to stealth from enemies, those enemies can be either active or passive. An active enemy is aware of you, while a passive enemy is unaware of you. A character in stealth mode automatically detects passive enemies in the same zone or in line of sight. Unless you move quietly, those enemies will automatically detect you. If you want to sneak past them, you make an opposed mobility roll against their observation. An active enemy may try to sneak up on your character for a sneak attack. If so, the GM informs you that the threat is approaching and rolls mobility against your observation. If you fail, the enemy gets a free attack against you. If you have a motion tracker, you can attempt to detect enemies in stealth mode, but the motion tracker have a chance of losing power every time you use it. If you play using a tactical map representing the environment, you could add suspense by adding markers to the map representing pings from the motion tracker. Once stealth mode is over and actual combat starts, initiative must be drawn. The initiative system uses numbered cards where each participant draws their place in the combat order. Everyone can make a slow action and fast action or 2 fast actions when it's their time to act in the round. A slow action usually consists of rolling for a skill. A fast action is quicker and doesn't require rolling dice, though it might. Some slow actions include crawl, close combat attack, shoot firearm, throw weapon, reload, stop panic, persuade, start engine. And some fast actions include run, get up, draw weapon, pick up item, aim, see cover, grab the wheel, use item. If you want to attack someone, use the closer range combat skills. If your roll is successful, the attack hits and you inflict damage equal to the weapon's damage rating. If the opponent has an armor rating, they may roll that rating in order to try to mitigate some of the inflicted damage. If you roll more 6s than you need in your attack roll, additional 6s can be used to add extra damage or require some kind of beneficial stunt. For ranged combat, you can enhance your roll by aiming as a fast action. If you're the one being attacked in close combat, you can choose to block the attack as a fast action. This lets you roll close combat against the attack, with 6s allowing several options such as mitigating damage, counterattacking or disarming. You can choose to block outside of your turn if you have fast actions available to do so in the same round. If you haven't acted yet, you'll have forfeited your fast action for your turn. You normally cannot block ranged attacks. If you drop to 0 health, you become broken and must roll for critical injury. While some results can lead to death, they don't have to, and it's possible for a broken character to crawl and mumble through the pain, but they cannot perform other actions or roll for skills. You can recover from being broken over time, but critical injuries may sometimes persist even as you recover. I've mentioned stress and panic a few times throughout this video. All characters start with a stress level of 0, which increases during the course of the game. It increases when you push skill rolls, fire bursts of full auto-fire, suffer damage, go without sleep, food or water, perform a coup de grace, etc. Whenever you make a skill roll, you must add your total stress level in stress dice to your roll, making you more likely to roll 6s the more stressed you are. However, if you roll once on your stress dice, you must make a panic roll. This is done by rolling a d6 and adding your current stress level to the result, then checking the panic table. If you roll 10 or higher, you'll be forced to perform a specific action that shapes the course of play. You can stop your panic if another character succeeds on a command roll, if you're broken, or if one full turn passes, which is about 5 to 10 minutes of in-game time. If you roll 13 or higher on a panic roll, you must make an empathy roll after the session. If successful, you develop permanent mental trauma of some kind. The game also lists a number of hazardous conditions appropriate to an alien story, such as starvation, dehydration, exhaustion, vacuum, freezing, falling, and radiation. There are also rules for encountering xenomorphs as well as playing or encountering synthetics.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
There are a number of different items in the game, many of them seen in other Alien media. Weapons provide a bonus value which modifies attack rolls, and they have a damage rating indicating how deadly they can be to enemies. Ammunition is abstracted for increased tension. Whenever you use a firearm and roll a 1 on a stress die, you run out of ammunition. If you do, how much more the weapon can be used is determined by your number of available reloads. Much of technology has regressed for the sake of efficiency, explaining both the advanced tech you can see in movies such as Prometheus and the 70s tech you can see in the original Alien movie.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Peter Weyland introduced 3 technologies that would ensure humanity's dominance over the stars: FTL, hypersleep, and terraforming. FTL was developed by Weyland Industries as early as in the 2030s. It achieves high speeds by displacing the volume of space preceding a spacecraft and drawing it forward with it. The ship uses ion thrusters to build up speed until the displacement drive can take over. Some ships can travel hundreds of times faster than the speed of light, but this still means that it can take quite a while to traverse all of charted space. Hypersleep technology was invented already in the 2020s, originally as a way of slowing down biological processes for medical purposes. While people in hypersleep aren't conscious, they still dream, and prolonged hypersleep can lead to psychological damage. Terraforming was originally used to restore Earth's climate after generations of global warming. It was later used on foreign worlds in order to make them more comfortable to human habitation. The three largest sections of charted space belong to the American arm of the United Americas, the Anglo-Japanese arm of the Three World Empire, and the collectivist bloc of the Union of Progressive Peoples. These national domains cut through the core, the outer wheel, the outer rim, and the far reach of known space. The core systems are those closest to Earth, and these are the most prosperous colonies. The outer wheel is outside of those core systems. These are rich in resources for mining and cultivation. The UPP has annexed many of these worlds, and vast regions of the outer wheel have been stripped bare and made uninhabitable through unsafe mining methods. The outer rim lies beyond the outer wheel. This is where American and UPP explorers discovered several Earth-like planets that could support life without the need for terraforming. Beyond the outer rim lies the far reach, which is mostly vast areas of uncharted space. Finally, the frontier is the free-for-all land of opportunity at the outermost fringes of charted space. The best way to survive the frontier long term is to become a colonist. However, it's not a glorious occupation, as the frontier worlds suffer economic depression while enriching the core system companies. Colonists consist of prospectors and wildcatters, miners and farmers. Maintenance engineers keep the atmospheric processors running, general managers oversee it all, and the colonial marshals keep everyone in line. Space truckers move cargo from colony to colony, and the colonial marines take care of dangerous life forms and rising conflicts. Starships in the frontier are designed for functionality and not aesthetics, with removable floor gratings, exposed machinery and cramped living quarters. Space stations are much similar, but with more habitat areas as well as open walls. Even though space itself is vast, the ships and stations people live in can feel cramped and claustrophobic. Communication is slow as well, taking weeks, months or years to reach recipients. Weyland-Yutani has built a sophisticated communication satellite grid called the network surrounding most inhabited sectors of space. All signals are routed through the network, sometimes bouncing off thousands of comma rays before reaching the destination. Because it can take time to get an answer, people in charge of colonies must often take matters into their own hands, as they cannot always afford to wait approval from a company light years away. When it comes to space combat, it's often short, sharp and brutal. It's usually this ship that spots the enemy first and gets the first shot in that's the victor. And because of the vastness of space, a fight between two ships can start thousands of kilometers apart. Each turn of space combat has 4 phases, and each ship gets to perform one action in each phase. These are the sensor phase, the pilot phase, the gunner phase and the engineer phase. Crews are often divided into a captain, a sensor operator, a pilot, gunners and engineers, all focusing on different phases of the space battle.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
The book presents 8 basic principles meant to help set the right tone. 1. Riff from the movies. 2. Limit the resources. Always make sure the PCs have too little of something. 3. Stay in the shadows. Hint at the source of danger, but don't show it. 4. Increase the pressure. Start easy and slowly add more complications. 5. Let them breathe. Sometimes it's important to back off and let the players take some time to recuperate. 6. Fuel their agendas. Learn the PC's agendas by heart and feed into them. 7. Bring horrible death. PCs will die horribly, and you should embrace that. 8. Reveal the universe. Give the PCs a glimpse of something greater. The Alien game is about survival and horror. It's about confronting and overcoming one's deepest fears. While action is a powerful driver in the Alien universe, it's also a universe with long-lost secrets and ancient mysteries. It can be profound, spiritual, and make you seem very small while also being part of something greater. The universe is vast and old, and the future is worn and old. Spaceships look like oil refineries, computers are the size of a room, everything is practical and durable and imperfect, which also adds to the fear and horror, which is the very DNA of Alien. Earlier I mentioned the cinematic and campaign game modes, and this chapter delves deeper into the differences between the two. The cinematic game mode emulates the Alien movies in short, focused and intense experiences with a lot of danger. The first published cinematic scenario is Chariot of the Gods, which I have partially played through as the making of this video, and I enjoyed it immensely. These scenarios are good ways to introduce newcomers to the dark themes of Alien, as well as good opportunities to play through a full story in only one or a few sessions. The campaign game mode is more of a traditional long-lasting game chronicle where you delve deeper into the game's universe. Because xenomorphs are the big bads of this universe, it's recommended to not overwhelm your campaign sessions with xenomorphs to avoid diminishing their impact. Instead, show the universe itself, let the characters experience the hardships of the frontier, introduce a conflict between colonies, or let them play colonial marines sent on different missions through charted space.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
It was the private sector that poured the money and resources into pushing humanity out into the greater solar system and beyond. They were the ones leading the colonization efforts, eventually making the earthly nations financially indebted to them. In order to compete with the powerful corporations, rivaling cultures merged into new empires. The Three-World Empire is the most technologically prosperous of the interstellar superpowers. In the late 21st century, the UK and Japan had pioneered space exploration and settlement technologies through the British Weyland Corp and the Japanese Yutani Corporation. The three worlds are named after the first three worlds to be inhabited by humanity: Earth, Mars, and Titan. The United Americas is the most powerful starfaring and colonizing nation in the 22nd century. It's an economic and political giant throughout charted space, and their military might is unparalleled. The Union of Progressive Peoples is a socialist government that controls a vast area of colonized space, but they are also the most resource poor of the interstellar nations. Although they are impoverished and overcrowded, their workers are in control of their means of production. The Independent Core System Colonies, or ICSC for short, is a loose alliance of worlds that have claimed independence from any interstellar governing body. They sell and trade resources and pay fees to be protected by corporate armed forces. The ICSC is seen as a haven for those on the run from their governments. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation is a British and Japanese multinational conglomerate that's dominating charted space. They are innovative producers and manufacturers of synthetic spaceships, computers, and weapons for both private and military markets. LaSalle Bionational is a multinational conglomerate specializing in biological research and development. They are known for their radiation-resistant crops, bioengineered livestock, pathogen vaccines, and their biological research, procurement, and weapons divisions. Seegson is a prominent manufacturer of inexpensive alternatives to Weyland-Yutani's product lines. They are a European conglomerate known for their Apollo AI mainframe and low-end synthetics.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Chapter 10 delves deeper into charted space. Since I've already mentioned the essentials, I'm now only going to focus on the depiction of Earth and the solar system. It was Weyland Corp's terraforming technology that brought back Earth from the brink of environmental disaster. Today it's an eclectic array of densely packed sensors of urban decay and beautiful green vistas. The cost of living on Earth is extreme, making it a world for no one but the elite and those in their immediate service. Earth's moon has a population of over 6 million people and is a center of mining and heavy industry in the solar system. While there are stations and colonies scattered around the solar system, Titan and Mars are the most populated with millions of people each. Most of civilization is outside of the solar system though, with the colonial bulk being centered within the core systems and the growing and expansive populations reaching further into space every day.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
The book goes over a few signature alien species with promises of more to come in future supplements. First, we have the engineers with their massive structures and hieroglyphs scattered across the stars. Dr. Elizabeth Shaw coined the term engineer when she and Dr. Charles Holloway discovered pictograms of them on Earth. This is covered in the movie Prometheus. No living engineers are known to exist today, as they are believed to have died out thousands of years ago. There's no Alien game without the xenomorphs, and from the many types that exist in alien media, only two are covered in this book, the neomorphs and xenomorph XX121. Unlike human characters, xenomorphs don't have attributes. Instead, they use specific skills that can be much higher than humans, they never push rolls, have a natural armor, and they have a special critical injury table that happens when they reach 0 health. Xenomorphs also have signature attacks, and some have special actions beyond even those. They are faster than humans, deadlier than humans, and the best course of action when facing one is to try to escape it. The neomorphs were originally encountered on Planet 4 of an uncharted system in Sector 87. Unlike the parasites that create the XX121, neomorphs are made by swarms of pollen-like black organisms. Once born, neomorphs are eyeless and have grey-white translucent skin, a fleshy-spiked tail, an elongated bulbous head, and a sphincter-like facial orifice that distends to reveal a tooth and maw. They are designed to kill all life. There are several stages to the neomorph life cycle. Stage 1 are the neomorphic egg sacs, which are small bulbous pods that grow like fungus. Stage 2 are the neomorphic motes, which is released by the egg sacs when disturbed. Stage 3 is the neomorphic bloodburster, which is grown like a tumor from pollen entering an organism's bloodstream before bursting out of their bodies. Stage 4 is the neophyte, which can grow from 1.2 to 1.8 meters in length, runs on all fours and is extremely aggressive. Finally, stage 5 is the adult neomorph, which assumes a giant bipedal stance and reaches a height of 2.1 meters or more. The xenomorph XX121 is actually comprised of two separate species, the facehugger that inseminates the host and the chestburster that results from that act, both operating in symbiotic relationship. The XX121 sheds their cells and replaces them with polarized silicon, essentially giving them armor. They have highly concentrated acid for blood as well as deadly prehensile tails. Stage 2 is the facehugger, a parasitic creature hiding in the ovomorph before attacking an organism and implanting a bacteria within them. Stage 4 is the stalker, scout or drone. These have black skin, a bladed tail, 6-fingered hands, smooth domed heads, and an inner set of jaws that can act like a piston. Stage 5 is the soldier, worker or sentry, in which an XX121 hive mind takes control over them and gives them specialized roles within a community. Stage 6 is the Praetorian, Crusher or Queen, which are monstrous horrors of immense size. While the Queen can form naturally from a royal facehugger, the Praetorians and the Crushers must be created by a queen by producing royal jelly and exposing it to her soldiers and sentries. Finally, stage 7 and beyond are mere rumors of massive queens the size of T-Rexes taking the roles of Empress or Queen Mother and become capable of ruling several queens and hives. Apart from the classic aliens, there are also other extrasolar species listed in the book. The Swarm are insect omnivores that ravage grasslands before going into decades-long hibernation. Harvesters are behemoth, subterranean, 6-legged land animals famous for destroying the colony on Tartarus. Lion worms are aggressive carnivores and ambush predators. Also, Tanakan scorpionids are tapered and segmented creatures with rounded heads, large pincers, crab-like legs, and fin-like structures on either side of their bodies.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Chapter 12 focuses on campaign play and gives suggestions on how to prepare and run an alien campaign. There are 3 suggested campaign frameworks, In the Space Truckers framework, the PCs work as cargo haulers going on jobs through charted space. In the Colonial Marine framework, the PCs are soldiers living a military life and answering orders from Command HQ. Finally, in the Frontier Colonists framework, the PCs are working in a colony, following up on rumors, locating and extracting valuable materials, and salvaging abandoned technologies. This chapter also has rules and tables for creating your own custom-made frontier colonies. There are rules for everything from star-type, planetary names and main world creation, with tables for planet size, atmosphere, temperature, geosphere, terrain, colony size, colony mission, orbit, number of factions, faction types, allegiances, scenario hooks and more. You can choose from the tables or randomly generate entire star systems to center your campaign around. There's also a job generator with tools and inspiration for quick creation of jobs tailored to your groups, such as type of job, destination, base rewards, employer, short description of the mission or contract, various complications that can challenge the PCs, suggested plot twists and more. If you're out of ideas, these tools can definitely help you out. This chapter also has tables for star system encounters, ship reactions, planetary surface encounters, and colony encounters. There's also a list of simple NPCs with only the base essential stats that can be easily dropped into a game.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
The book's final chapter is a short cinematic scenario called Hope's Last Day, which is centered on Hadley's Hope and LV-426 from the original Alien movies. This chapter offers a brief taste of cinematic play and drops the player straight into the action. The pre-generated characters all have their own agendas, buddies and rivals, and they need to escape LV-426 alive. This short scenario encompasses what would normally be the third and final act in a 3-act cinematic scenario and can be played in less than 2 hours. This was a long video and I want to thank you for having stuck with it all the way to the end. I was very impressed with this core book and it could be one of the better ones I've read. The layout is beautiful and the text is clear and direct. It doesn't leave any room for misunderstandings. While the book is 400 pages long, it feels much shorter because of the way it's structured and laid out, with only a few paragraphs on each page that explains the essentials without being bloated. The game system is easy to learn and I started GMing the Chariot of the Gods scenario fairly effortlessly after only having read through the rules once. Whenever I needed to look up any rules during play, they are very easy to find and comprehend. At the beginning of the video I mentioned that I wanted to see if the game could emulate an Alien movie as well as prevent a setting rich enough for campaign play, and it definitely does both. The cinematic play scenarios are chilling and intense, and they definitely have the feel of an Alien movie. A lot of effort has been put into the setting as well, and the various colonies, factions, and the impressive map over charted space make it more than possible to run many different types of campaigns even without any xenomorphs present. I look forward to seeing future supplements delve deeper into the setting as well as new alien species being introduced. If we could see crossover supplements with predators, I'd be super happy as well. So in summary, this is definitely a game worth picking up. The only critique I have is that it's written in a game that assumes that you've already seen the Alien movies, because it references names and events from those movies without really elaborating on them. I would have preferred if the book treated the movies more like Easter eggs and assumed that the readers hadn't seen them, because newcomers to the franchise can be confused about certain descriptions even though it's overall a good game to introduce new players to the Alien franchise. If you like this video and want to see more, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Also follow me on Patreon if you're interested in more of my projects and want to give me some extra support. I also have accounts on Twitter and Instagram that are linked in the description below. Until next time, it's game over, man. It's game over.